Hello and welcome to session 53 of my Pillars of Eternity Lorethrough. We are currently in Braith Yemen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I think I am. We spoke with Yavara last time and learned about the truth behind the gods. Basically, that they aren't actually gods, at least not in the creator sense of gods. And she tried to spread this truth. She was persecuted because of it, and now she is trapped down here in these Adra soul prisons. And of the many people who followed her, many of them were trapped down here because they angered the so-called gods. But she's the only one that's still left, so her soul cannot return to a body while she is trapped down here because she refuses to repent. She refuses to say that the gods are real. Okay, so let's continue exploring Breath Yemen and see if we can catch up with Thaos here. Uh-oh.
This is important. Paralysis! Hello? Hello? Oh!
Good
That's it!
The archer's having a little trouble over there.
That's it! Leave it to me! That's it!
Quick.
I'm here.
Hey,
Following your lead.
Ready, Watcher.
Checking weapons. Okay.
Quietly now.
all right then.
The ancient Adra still bears the impression of the 1,000 souls broken upon it. Your soul burns with remembered suffering.
And the fire shows me something new.
And a unique morning star here. Daybreak was the product of the careful engineering of an animancer from Solace Vale. Hoping to create a defense against the blights and phantoms that often plagued neighboring villages, he developed a morning star that was especially effective against such nightmarish beings. Unfortunately, he died before he could make more. Even though he'd had no involvement in the early experiences with the Hollowborn, he was murdered by one of the many lynch mobs that formed after the appearance of the first Wicks. So it seems like this is down here to give us a little bit, if we're having trouble with some of these spirits and stuff, to give us a little bit of an edge. We also got the Necklace of Fireballs. Nothing there. So we can cast Fireball 8 times with that necklace.
I shall be quiet as a calm sea, which is not very quiet.
Looks like we explored this whole thing. This is Soul Guardian pillars and more Soul Guardian pillars here. So I think these Guardian pillars are where the Animat spawn. And then these are Soul Adra prisons. This one right here is where we saw Yvara. I wanted to read this, see if there's anything different. Pillar tugs at your essence. A pulse from the world itself moves through it. Wow, tugs at your essence, huh?
Shh.
Can't have that.
So, it's true. The gods are a sham that people have followed for thousands of years.
That was Aloth speaking there. Oh, we have a couple of thought bubbles here. So let's talk to Adair.
Well, doesn't that just beat all? Here I was, wondering all this time whether all these terrible things were people's fault or the gods. Turns out they might be the same thing.
An interesting way of looking at it. A lot of times people blame the gods when things go wrong, but now he's saying maybe it's actually people's fault. So rather than looking at the majesty of the gods and being disillusioned that they aren't there, just finding more reason to blame actual people and mortals for the things that go wrong.
Wonder how things would have gone different 15 years ago if the Raid Sarens had been told their god was made in some forge or kiln someplace. Would we still have gone to war?
People were starving. They'd have rebelled sooner or later.
I could see the rebellion still happening, but I don't know that they would have invaded.
He looks down at the ground, drumming his fingers against his side restlessly. When he speaks again, it seems half to himself.
I don't know. When Woden left for war, we, had a fight. As brothers will.
What about?
About him going off to war. He was set on it. But my parents warned him. They said you get a new country with every trip across the border, but your god, you only get the one. Me? I didn't know who was right. All I knew was I didn't want him to go. It's the same for families as it is for gods. You only get the one. I said every vicious thing I could think of, trying to change his mind. He brushed it off. Just got me madder, of course, him being so calm. He said I should come with him, but he'd understand if I didn't want to. I told him he'd better be able to face his god one day and answer for what he'd done. He said he'd keep that in mind. And then, he was gone.
This revelation is causing him to reevaluate his relationship with his brother and his entire family.
By the time I'd cooled off, months had passed. One morning it dawns on me that my brother always knew better than me. If he was so sure of what he was doing, then I should be there with him. I packed my things and was on the road that same morning. Of course, what I didn't know then was he'd already changed his mind. By that time, he was dead on that field.
So if you left with him, you'd have known why he changed his mind.
If I'd have left with him, we'd both be dead, so I don't know why I bothered thinking about it. He asked me to trust him the day he left. Said if I went with him, he'd make sure we were on the right path. And he deserved that. He deserved that trust from me. Raid Saris is a long way to walk on your own. I think I'd have liked to have been there with him on that journey. Even knowing how it ended.
Do you think he went to Wideman because of what you said to him?
Crossed my mind. You live in a place like Gilded Vale. You don't have a whole lot else to do other than think about things you don't want to think about. I hope that wasn't it. I hope he went there because it's what he thought was right. But it seems I'm not meant to know.
Let's be on our way.
Still one more mess we gotta straighten out. Come on, then. I still owe you one.
All right. Now let's talk to Aloth.
We've been lied to. Our whole lives, and many lives before that. And it's led us to put our faith in a pantheon of gods that never deserved it in the first place.
This seems like a different point of view than he had while he was talking to Yavara. He seemed kind of resigned and almost relieved that the gods weren't real, but now he seems angry. Thaos is wrong. Most people are fundamentally decent. Knowing the truth can only make them better.
You're right. People will be better off finding direction on their own than following this farce. Besides, the gods haven't exactly done much to prevent us from slaughtering each other. If anything, they've only given us more pretenses for doing so.
Just so we're clear, I do kind of agree with that point of view that I just had Bjarter say right there. That I think in our own world that holds true as well. That for the most part, people are decent, but it's when they get certain ideologies, certain ideals in their heads, usually from someone else in power, that they start to do things that are uncharacteristic of those things. I'm not saying that if there was no religion, there would also be nobody doing evil things, because that's obviously not true. But I think more people are prone to do things that are pretty awful because they are led to believe something errant or something extreme based on what people in power have been saying.
The slaughter seems to come whether there's a god involved or not. If it wasn't a god justifying it, it'd be some other thing.
So Adair does not agree with me.
I've also been thinking. There won't be much left of Thaos by the time you're done with him, if I know how you operate. That will leave the Leaden Key headless. Perhaps it's best it stays that way.
Do what you think is right.
Then let's face Thaos. When this is all over, I'll make sure that no one is able to commit his abuses again.
Also, after talking to Yavara, we gained something else. Bjarter gained something else. Steps to the wheel. Once per rest, I can paralyze and sicken foes. The Watcher gives his or her foes a glimpse into the afterlife by displacing their souls, momentarily paralyzing them and leaving them sickened. Okay, and that's just foes. Nice. I have a lot of Watcher skills now. I think these are all Watcher skills here. And here I am, Sun in Shadow. Something is mapped out already in the center here. That's interesting.
I'll see what I can find.
I can't see much, but I hear a noise like a pig choking on wet feed. So, I guess Durance is breathing at least.
There's like these clouds of shadow. It's the ring of searing flames. Grants combusting wounds. This area definitely has a feeling of finality to it.
Full of surprises, aren't you?
Look at the size of this place.
Look at that. A city to put all others to shame. And long lost.
We light our own path now, Watcher.
Can you do that again? I had something in my eye. I missed most of it.
So, take a look at something here if I can get this right here. Seems very much like the destroyed ruins that are on top of this place in Burial Isle. It seems like the same kind of building here with these like maybe Adra windows almost in the stone centers. The one that we looked at, the stone in the center was crumbling. This one is intact. But I just noticed that these are very similar to the structures that were on Burial Isle. Also, those, I think, were the souls that Bearter absorbed on his way here. We saw that happening, and they have lit sun and shadow for us. So thank you, souls. These are Ingwithan shades. So these are the spirits of Ingwithans. So they must have been here for thousands of years.
That's it! Moeth Ixi Ana.
Oh no. Okay. Let's see. I doubt that I got a new bestiary entry out of that, but you can see. Not spider. Yeah, they're just regular shades, but they are shades of Ingwithans.
Slow and silent.
Can we get to these areas? No, okay. It's another one of these. Whoa. A Shadow Drake and some Ingwithan shades.
That's
Yeah, we have some drakes here in chains, it looks like. Drake skeletons. I guess we fought one of these spirits of one of these drakes on the ground here.
Of course.
slow and silent.
Oh, some of these are unable. Chalky bits of bone break away between your fingers. shadows in the caverns suddenly lengthen and swallow you. When your eyes adjust to the darkness, you find yourself in the midst of what must be another vision. I didn't even recognize this at the time, but seeing Wael right there made me do a little count of the gods that we talked to when we were at Ter Evron. We did Galawain's favor, and Mogren and Abaddon joined Galawain. We did Rimergon's favor, and Skane and Onra joined Rimergond, so that's 6 gods. And then Berith and Hylia, we did their favors, but they were alone, so that counts for 8 gods there. Aethos was not there. He is thought dead, so that would be a 9th god. A 10th god would be Woodica, who we're working against, so she was not there, which only left Wael, and I didn't realize that he was unaccounted for, so here he is. The shadows in the caravan suddenly lengthen and swallow you. When your eyes adjust to the darkness, you find yourself in the midst of what must be another vision. You are surrounded by mists. The grounds feel springy under your feet. You imagine that, as soon as you take a step, the soil behind you will erase all trace of your passage. As if on cue, the mist before you clear just enough for you to take a couple steps forward. You do, and the fog closes behind you. And I refer to them as gods, even though maybe we shouldn't consider them gods anymore. I'm still going to continue calling them gods, even though we know that they were created, because that is how the people of this world see them. You continue for several minutes in this manner, one step at a time, never seeing more than the ground right in front of you. Eventually, rays of light cut through the haze, and you find yourself facing a canyon wall. Dare's head twists suddenly, as though something has flown in front of his face. What's that? Something whizzes past you. Just as you turn, you catch another whir of movement. Out of the mist flits a shape, small and round. You think you see another and another. They tickle the corners of your vision. You turn back to the canyon wall. The sun shifts along its path, and what looked like a smooth rock face is the hollow of a cave. A figure steps out, its features shifting and changing before your eyes. He who sees and is not seen, save when he chooses, it seems. Connor regards the figure with wary fascination. I thought the god of mystery is my chief enemy at times, but one cannot seek out answers if the questions aren't there. The figure transforms from male to female, from Orlin to Aumaua, its bones lengthening and its fur receding into its flesh. The only detail that remains constant is the smooth, eyeless face. The whizzing, rushing shapes from the mist converge in the figure, and as they form a spinning cloud, you realize that they are eyes.
You understand the value of a mystery watcher. A buried scroll, a hidden truth. These are my ways.
I wonder if they say that to us because we buried the scroll for Wael in that quest.
You unravel a thread, Watcher. One you have lost and discovered over generations. And following it to its end has only brought you back to the beginning.
Have I been here before? Wael giggles. A strangely modulated sound that rises and falls as the gods shifts from one form to the next. You search for answers in your past. Your search for answers in your past has led you to another mystery, and one grander still. My goal now is to see the souls Thaos is trapped. See to the souls Thaos is trapped. Yes, but what would you do with them? Wael asks.
A nebula of souls, blind and brimming with potential. The answer to Woodica's question at the beginning of yours. What would you do with them?
Well, I told Berith I was going to do what it wanted us to do, so Berith wants them returned to the cycle.
To live out countless lives, each old existence lost to the new. The point is never the end with that last shuddering breath, but all the years that lead up to it. Even the gods require fresh mysteries.
I have to read this again. To live out countless lives, each old existence lost to the new. Oh, that's what he's saying happens if we return them to the wheel. The clouds break and the torrent of rain washes Wael's features clean. His blank face molds itself again, taking on the shape of something you've never seen before. Do not consign the souls to the fate of some god's choosing. You have found them. Now scatter them across existence, their destination known to neither god nor mortal. Let them be lost again. New answers to new riddles. Behind him, the sudden downpour has carved new caves into the canyon. Yeah, I'm going to use my intellect to say, you say I shouldn't let a god decide their fate, but it seems you're asking me to do just that.
In a way. But something must be done, and hurling them from the machinery of other schemes is the truest course of action.
What end would that serve?
No end, Watcher. That is the purpose.
So nihilism for nihilism's sake? But what would happen to the souls?
None know. They could end up anywhere in the realms of gods or mortals, whole or divided. Discovering them again and charting their course through the ether will be a new mystery.
So we have another option here of what to do with the souls. Farewell, Wael.
That is a word for endings, and this is but a crossroads. Even I do not know what you would choose.
Shadows from the new caves melt and spread across the landscape, covering you in darkness. When the light returns, the vision is gone. I haven't changed my mind. I still want to return them to the wheel.
I'm on the trail.
Let's go over here before we do whatever that scripted interaction is.
Good shot with this.
Just some shades this time. Ah, there it is. There's the Drake.
All right, then.
I'm on the trail.
These lamps must be lit with soul energy, which is what keeps happening to me when I run into those spirits.
That's can't get a good.
Nice and quiet.
I have a feeling that this little scripted interaction over here is going to end with Bjartur getting himself hurt or something like that, because it seems like it's just a shortcut. Oh, there is something over there, though. A lone segment of the bridge rises over the ruins of an ancient city. It looks stable enough, but the wide gap leaves little room for air. Jump to the freestanding segment. Bjartur gets a running start and leaps over the gap. However, Bjartur cries out upon landing and collapses on the other side of the tangle of limbs. Yep. Twisted ankle. Not worth it. Oh well. And he got another thing there. So it looks like all of those scripted interactions have to do with the athletics ability, which is kind of, I don't know, that's unfortunate. I feel like sometimes they should be based on other things, and I believe in the second game they are. But it seems like all of them here are just some kind of athletics check, and one person will always get hurt. So over here, didn't realize this is the Guardian's Dome. That's what it's called. This is the Sun and Shadow fully mapped out. The Guardian's Dome is where we fought the first group of Shades and the Shadow Drake. And then here in the court, we fought the other Shadow Drake. This is the Walk of Souls, and this is to the Court of the Penitents. Oops. Let's go to the next area.
I'll take a look.
We are still in Sun and Shadow. We see a crown of Woodica in the center here. This just says machine, which is obviously has something to do with this enormous Audra pillar here. Here we go.
Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen?
Can't talk to him. He just says what he says. These are a lot of vessels that this machine looks like has ripped the souls from. These must be the souls that Thaos has been collecting.
I am trusting you to remain loyal to the gods in this.
He's
If you
talking.
do not, you will have greater powers than me to answer to. But you will answer to me as well.
He's talking to my old body. Red belt of power. What's that? Might and resolve.
I wouldn't ask this were there any other choice.
This is a missionary, same as I was. Taught the wrong things as I was.
Don't know who Yavara is talking about there. Talking about us.
Osionis. They have held off many would-be invaders.
Osionis is the king she was going to go to for help in thwarting Thaos.
You are ready to give a confession?
I am ready to hear one from you.
Very similar to the conversation we heard above the pit. Aaron B. Archer just leveled up. So let's do that. Adair first. For Adair, I upped his athletics to 12, and I gave him an envenomed strike with a mixture of animal and plant venoms applied to his or her weapon. The character is able to deliver a toxic strike that does raw damage over time. This is 3 per rest, I think. All right, B. Archer's turn. And for B. Archer, I upped his athletics to 4. Maybe he won't get hurt now. Who knows, though? I gave him the level 7 Cipher spell, Time Parasite. By siphoning power from enemies' souls, the Cipher is able to slow them down and increase his or her own speed. And Mental Fortress bolsters the character's defenses against charm-dominated, confused, frightened, and terrified afflictions. It's too bad the other people won't level up. Didn't level up right now. These statues are similar to the outside. You've come to a circular room, grand and domed, its walls lined with Adra and trimmed with copper. At the far end, the great pillar of Adra pierces the floor from below like a ragged spike, its shimmering texture giving the illusion of boundless depth. Your thoughts are yours and not yours, and they are all questions. At the base of the pillar stands Thaos, a look of concern on his face as he notes your approach. You have something you want to ask him. One question above all others, spinning madly in your mind, but you don't dare ask it yet. You need some admission from him first, some hint of the veracity of your suspicions.
You are far from your post, Inquisitor. What brings you here?
Still thinking we're the old body. Your mind races, weighing different angles of approach, your emotions barely in check. That machine behind you, what does it do?
It has many uses, but its purpose is to bring structure to the chaos that surrounds it.
Wonder how it does that. What is this place?
We are in a sanctum holy to Utica. There are others like it in service to the other gods. I come here often to pray for her counsel, and in this space I may be assured that she hears me.
I wonder where the other gods ones are. Was Yavar telling the truth?
That woman sought only to destroy the foundations of peace and civility that my people sacrificed everything to build.
All these statues, who are they of?
They are monuments to Utica's greatest servants among my people. I hope to join them myself one day, but my work is not yet complete.
So he says his people, but the statues are obviously bigger and they seem more beast-like as well. Was the entire Inquisition based on a lie?
The Inquisition was based on the need to cut the flesh from a rotting wound.
You are shaking now, having lost all patience for tact. No more evasions. You have to know. Everything you believed, everything you have done for the gods. Did you lie to me when you said the gods could end suffering? Thaos says nothing. Are there no gods?
What is a god? A higher power? A rewarder of good deeds and punisher of the wicked? Something men can turn to in their darkest moments when their days seem only like bridges from one tragedy to the next. Our gods are all these things.
With Thaos' every word, you find yourself losing control of a boiling cauldron of rage and doubt and fear and hopelessness until you can take it no more. So I ask the same question here because this didn't answer. Are there no gods?
We are in a sacred place within earshot of the gods themselves. This is not the time. You've been through much these past few months.
Still refusing to answer.
You will return home and you will rest. When you feel you have recovered, you may rejoin us at the trials. The Inquisition is far from over, and I will have need of you. There are many who continue to spread the lies of the apostate. The Inquisition will not end until we have pronounced judgment on all of them.
His eyes linger on you, and there is no mistaking the threat behind it. And your rage shrinks at the image of an iron wheel in your mind, monolithic and caked with dried blood of thousands. You do not ask your question again. There he is.
How did you find it?
I didn't. It was Lady Webb.
Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, she always preferred spite over reason.
It was reason that guided her hand in this.
Then she should have obeyed. I ask one thing of all my followers. She was incapable. A waste of rare talent and intellect.
Blind obedience is a lot to ask of someone with a mind of their own.
What of your cohorts, then? They have followed you to their deaths. Is it loyalty that brings them here? Or is it, as my agents suggest, that they have no direction of their own?
So he's doing the thing that way too many villains do. When we say that people blindly following him was an error, he tries to say that my followers are blindly following me. And at least for Biarta, that is not at all true.
You worshipped Aethys, did you not?
Saying that to Adair.
Your spies are good. What gave me away? The cape?
Yet when your god needed you the most, you chose your country.
Adair frowns, irritated.
We were being invaded. Not by anyone who was acting like a god.
Then I should think your hometown gave you a hero's welcome when you returned.
Well, they made cake. And I think you can expect folks to get jumpy when the gods aren't there to reassure them. Maybe if they weren't all too busy trying to kill each other.
The gods argue over how best to prevent Kith society from destroying itself. These disruptions would not be necessary were mortal instinct not so diseased. You have devoted yourself to studying the work of my people. Why?
Asking Kana this question.
I thought your people had much to teach us. That we too could create great machines, improve our ships, make an empire as vast and impressive as yours ever was, built upon your secrets.
And did you ever consider that these were things you were never meant to understand? That their comprehension is beyond you?
I know better. The Ingwithans weren't an infallible race. You were never gods. All your petty experience, your heinous crimes, your glorious achievements. You were just people, and your time came and went. Engwith is a lesson now for those who remain.
You are living in the time of my people, Amawa. You owe them more than you will ever comprehend, and so it shall ever be. Greater civilizations than yours have attempted to reclaim what we buried. The greater their successes, the worse their fates in the end. I have seen to it.
Trying to sow doubt into my companions' minds here doesn't seem to be working too well for him. Durrance stares at Thaos with a beast's snarl. Thaos watches him calmly.
You built a weapon that delivered exactly as promised.
Godhammer bomb.
I served my goddess as you did yours.
Yet the other builders were slain, 11 of a dozen. Why not you? Were you somehow different? Redeemable in your god's sight?
Whatever desire I had to be redeemed in her eyes was weakness, purged by the Watcher's sight.
Or was it merely that your goddess wanted you dead as well, and your delusions of importance prevented you from seeing the obvious?
A whore's beguiling charms, nothing more. But the spell's broke now, Thaos. The trial's over. I know friend from foe, and I've come here now to see a foe repaid.
You were able to destroy a god because another god wished it. Without her hand to guide you, you could not strike at a god any more than you could strike the sky. You are impotent, and not just from the pox. State your name and purpose, young acolyte.
Looking at Aloth here, who was a member of the Leaden Key.
My name belonged to the gods in my hand to their service. No more.
You serve none but yourself. Without contact with your order, you can have no higher purpose. Only the base concerns of the flesh. You have cast yourself from our ranks.
And I should have done it years before. I'd rather live in uncertainty than servitude.
And that uncertainty would lead you where it leads everyone. To doubt, to emptiness, to the many cruelties inspired by disbelief. You will have to forgive your Grandmaster for remaining skeptical of his initiate's choices. You are far from home, dwarf.
Sagani?
I knew my hunt would send me a long way from Masuk. It was a challenge I was glad to undertake for my village.
A journey, then? It must be of some import to take you so far and to last so long.
Anything worth doing comes at great cost.
So it was worth it, then, to tell a dying beast of things it neither understood nor had memory of. You are here because you are lost. The gods cannot reach everyone, I'm afraid. May you fare better in your next lives.
He directs his gaze at you.
I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray mongrel? You think I have something to offer you, but our business was concluded long ago.
I wonder if I hadn't done all these companion quests, if this would have got through to them somehow. If maybe they would be either disillusioned or they would get some kind of debuff or something like that. But now it seems like because I've done that, they have greater faith in themselves as well. So for me now, I lived my life by the lies you told. You owe me the truth.
I answered your questions once. That your soul is not fit to accept the answers is of little concern to me. I lied to no one. Not to you, not to anyone. The gods are real. They are everything we need them to be, and the world is better for it.
You convinced me once that spreading your false faith would end atrocities. Yet here you are, committing your own.
The spread of our faith ended many such atrocities. I do what I must to ensure it continues to do so. The heart of this country has skipped a beat, nothing more. I have done far worse. I plunged the peaceful kingdom of Thaos into civil war. I slew the monarch of Desantio, whose people never knew hardship under his rule, and replaced him with a cruel despot who brought them to ruin.
Talking about things that he's done over his 1,000 years, the most recent being the Hollowborn.
When plague arrived at the great city of Arborensis, I saw to it that the cure did not. They piled their dead outside the city in heaps that rose above their walls.
Nothing could justify these atrocities.
That's where you are mistaken. There was a time, back when your soul was still a shapeless mist, when the world believed only in false gods. Thousands of them. Gods that told them to take slaves. Gods that told them to make war upon their neighbors and devour the slain. Gods that told them to burn their children alive and cover themselves in the ashes as a sign of their faith.
So he's differentiating here between the false gods that people worship before that never existed and the gods that do exist, but I guess aren't really gods, are created.
But all that changed when they learned of the true gods. Our gods. All those misshapen, bestial instincts melted beneath the radiance of our god's majesty. You could see it in their eyes. That dull emptiness replaced with the glimmer of a kindled spark.
Obviously, that's not true if there are still atrocities. Teaching them there were no gods would have achieved the same purpose.
And replaced it with one far worse.
So he doesn't have the same optimism in people as we do.
Have you imagined this existence? The one the apostate would have created. We are not all so virtuous as she. Without our gods, the most wicked, the most tyrannical, they would take that power for themselves. But more than that, it would be a hollow existence. All mysteries forever unanswered. All purposes constructed from meaninglessness. No endings to bring closure. Only a wheel, turning without mercy, grinding our spirits to dust.
You underestimate people.
For all my years, I have seen exactly what they are capable of. What the apostate asked was beyond any man.
So I want to justify my last answer here and this idea that people are better. He does say that at some point in the past there, that if they were told there were no gods, then powerful people would take all the power to themselves. However, while that's true, and we can see evidence of that all around the world, where powerful people just get more and more power, and power in our world is most often in the form of money, but there are other forms of power. If people aren't led to believe what these powerful people say and to think that there is some higher purpose, then they are more likely to judge the actual actions of the person and what they are doing. So I think if the truth was shared here that there are no actual gods, then people wouldn't actually look up to the powerful people and lionize them and think they are infallible just because they said that a god put them where they are. Rather, they could actually examine the actions and judge them for themselves. So it wouldn't be as easy for the powerful to get more and more power if those gods weren't there to give them the excuses that they had. So that is why I think by knowing this, the people here would actually be better off, and they wouldn't just devolve into monsters and beasts because they don't have gods to fight for anymore. I think that there will still be bad things that happen, but I don't think that, I think that not having the gods to fall back on to justify people's actions, it will lessen, definitely.
All I have seen, the millennia of experience. I will not be dissuaded from this course. This is the only way.
You're blind to think yours is the only way. You're controlled by your own doubts.
We are all controlled by our own doubts. Better that we should be relieved of them. With your soul and thousands of others, I will see this world purged of its suffering. Hear me, Woodica. Your servant calls for aid.
Thaos puts his hands out low on either side as though welcoming some unseen guest. He shuts his eyes and casts his face skyward.
Roach 10!
Definitely gonna summon right off the bat here. Okay.
scrawny.
I cannot keep up this pace.
Not good for me.
I'm gonna slow it down, see if maybe that helps a little bit.
That's not.
No.
Yes.
Come on.
That's it.
Stand still! Brave thou do not believe.
Dip.
Brave thou do not believe. Stand!
All on you, Kana.
Beyond sea.
Stand still!
Worth and roar.
Your tail ends here!
Lavaru beyond sea.
Hey. Not pretty, but I did it. At your feet rests the body of Thaos, hollow, the dense wrinkles shaped by the silent shouldering of an eternal burden now smoothed across his colored, drained face. His soul remains still for the moment, defenseless, its energy expended in defeat. It lies sprawled across his body like a death shroud.
All those lifetimes spent to preserve a single vital secret. I would expect a man to reconsider his choices after the first 500 years.
So in other words, the whole reason his soul has been resurrected with all the knowledge that it's had of previous lives is to keep this a secret, that the gods are created.
That's the servant down, and the mistress still to go. A good start, worthy of being built upon.
I'm guessing the mistress then is Woodica?
After journeying for lifetimes, I can't imagine his failure, knowing it was all for nothing.
He was good at serving his god, I give him that. He should have picked a better one.
He spent his lives, more than any of us will ever know. For what? Binding the world to a lie. Could a man like that ever be redeemed?
Explore Thaos' soul. With a deep breath, you plunge into Thaos' soul, and where in Brackenberry it had been a maze of narrow corridors and dead ends, now it is expansive and borderless, its walls crumbling into heaps like ruins of Engwith as you pass through them. You travel for what seems like ages, rushing to a known destination, a memory you glimpsed once before. At least you see it, no more than a pinprick of light. At last you see it, no more than a pinprick of light at the edge of a long tunnel, expanding slowly at first, then quickly as you near. You come out in the room you are standing in now, but it is new and pristine and filled with people, thousands of them, all turned towards the great Audra pillar and the machine that encases it. Thaos stands at the machine, and you are one with him now. You look out at the crowd, at faces of shriveled old men and cherub-cheeked little girls, at mothers bouncing infants to quiet them, and fathers clasping their children's restless hands and watching you with somber acceptance. A woman with tears in her eyes gives you a small nod. You turn back toward the machine, your breaths constricted beneath the weight of the unwanted knowledge, preparing yourself to set out alone on a journey without end. You close your eyes and open them again to find the machine still in front of you, beckoning. You take your place in front of it and place your hands upon a large mechanical disc at the base of the great crystal column and speak a single word. Giant rings creak to life, building speed, setting arrays of carved draconic mouths aglow and sending tremors through the platform beneath you. So he's activated this machine that's off in the corner over here. The entire room shakes now with the force of the accelerating machine, all sound drowned out by its deep, deafening thrum. Brilliant tendrils of light arc outward from the pillar in all directions, and you look over your shoulder to see them engulfing the crowd, burning them brightly like hot iron. One by one, the tendrils disappear, leaving ashen effigies where people once stood, many of them disintegrating into gray heaps under the stress of the tremors. You look above the outer pillar, and a glowing spherical mass has begun to coalesce atop the column where the arcs converge. It grows and pulses, translucent and bulbous like some immense chrysalis, suspended in slow rotation as though it were being spun from the arc's flight. When the last arc disappears, the spectral mass hangs a moment, no longer rotating. So bright you must shield your eyes with an outstretched hand, and it seems to you as though it is looking at you. You bow your head in acknowledgement, and look back up to see it melt in the pillar like warm candle wax. The pillar flares with a flash of bright light, bright as the sun itself, then fades to darkness. The machine slows down to an abrupt halt, and when the last echo of its grinding cogs has passed, the chamber is still, and you are alone. So it must have, sucked the souls out of everybody that was there. From all sides, reality begins to bleed in through the memory, and you find yourself in your own skin once more, looking down on Thaos' lifeless body. You sense a listlessness in Thaos' soul, an overwhelming fatigue that hinders its immediate escape and makes it vulnerable to manipulation. You feel as though your victory has given you some kind of hold over it, and you are able to do with it as you please. I'm going to destroy all the memories contained within. Your memory makes you a slave to your own past. Perhaps it can't be undone, but it can be forgotten. It shall trouble neither of us any longer.
No! You cannot allow this. You will have no reminders. He will not remember the message we wrote on his fragmented bones and carved into his flesh. The lesson we burned into his soul.
You were kinder to that man than I would have been.
You return to the landscape of Thaos' memory, to the vast terrain of deceptions and crippling despair, and you can feel your agency in this world now, an ability to reshape the whims of your dominant will. You focus on a vision of pure emptiness, and your will becomes a swirling vortex around you, sweeping through the landscape and bearing away moments and lifetimes like some apocalyptic Beowulf that would tear away the essence of the planet itself. The storm builds around the very crust of the world, peels from the fabric of the soul that anchored it, and it is borne into the sky until it's too distant to observe. The last thing you see is a white void, boundless in all directions, unfettered by the shackles of experience and doubt. In the stillness that follows, a single word echoes through your mind, a word you spoke when you were one with Thaos in an ancient memory. You realize it is the word that activates the machine. Okay. So I think what I want to do here is call it a session. A little bit of a cliffhanger, but I think it's a good time to actually do that because we just killed Thaos, and there's probably a good amount of lore that comes after this, and this session is already pretty long. So I'm going to wrap this session now. and then we will continue in the last session of the game proper. I do still plan to do the DLCs, but this is like the main game right here that we are about to finish, about to complete. So I hope you join me then. This one was heavy, obviously, with lore, since it was leading up to the very end of the game and our final confrontation with Thaos. We learned that he has been for lifetimes holding on to this secret that the gods are created, and everything he's done has been a way to try and suppress that from reaching people. That's the reason why he didn't want people to study animancy, the reason he was so against it, and it was the reason for pretty much everything that he's done, was just to try and keep this secret held, including the Hollowborn and everything. But he's now dead, and we have destroyed the memories in that soul. So the soul is still intact, but the memories that have carried from Thaos's life to life to life now are severed. And hopefully that means that maybe there will be some awakening at some point, but it won't be the same kind of awakening that his body has always received, where he just remembers everything that has ever happened to him, and he has become way too powerful because of all that. So we'll bring all that into the next session, where we complete the game proper. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me, and I hope you join me next time for the conclusion of the main game of Pillars of Eternity. And we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.